session we are going to have is a micro workshop with none other than my brother Santhosh Tuppad. Santhosh, are you on board? I don't see you. Okay, yeah, that's it. Oh my goodness, look at you. How are you? Santhosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us here, and I will let you start with your workshop.
Great. I think I still have 2 more minutes, so I will ask you, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, just trying to catch up with so many things. It's good to see you here. I'm looking forward to your workshop.
Great, cool.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah. So I welcome you all to this micro workshop where we are going to speak about HTTP headers. And this is one of the subjects where most of the people do not pay attention to. And the reason is everyone is going behind the UI, user interface. Okay, what happens here? What goes wrong? What goes properly? Or what is that sign up form or login form or profile and everything? And most of them look only into the developer tools if and only if there is something related to Selenium. That's what I have seen in my experience. And when people keep doing this, they forget the other tabs which are in the developer tools. And just because it's called as developer tools doesn't necessarily mean that only developers have to use. Testers or anyone else can use it, whoever has access to it. And today I'm going to speak about how a tester or a developer or a product owner or anyone who has access to the web browser can look into network tab, and that is in your developer tools. Maybe you're already using it, but you're not paying attention to these sneaky HTTP headers. And they are really beautiful as well, but they are also monstrous. And where they can be helping you to mitigate several kinds of attacks. And sometimes they are configured improperly, and someone can take the advantage of these HTTP headers. I am Santhosh Tuppad, and you may know me as an ethical hacker, but I love computers. That's when I got into computers when I was 12, and when I was 16, I started into hacking. I did not know what's ethical hacking, what's unethical hacking, because I did not know the laws or what should I do with it. I was just fascinated with the computers and internet. And internet opens so many doors to any computer around the globe. And I can sit anywhere across the globe and I can send a probe to any computer and then get something. So we talk to each other. So wherever there is socializing, Santhosh Tuppad is there. So that's what I would love to say. A small thing about my introduction. I know that, okay, you already heard me speak about myself, but this is where I started from, and my first hacking lesson was hacking dial-up subscription of someone else, because I did not have enough money to keep going to those internet shops where you pay by hour and then you have to get out of that place. I used to come back home, but I had this idea of cracking the credentials of dial-up subscription of someone else and using it from my home. And from my home, every night I used to connect from my telephone line, and we used to have 56 kbps modem. So where it converts the analog signal to the digital, and that's the thing about the modulation and demodulation, what this modem does. So that's what I did. And whenever this shop used to close at 10 o'clock, I used to start my shop from my home, which is by using their credentials, because there cannot be two connections, more than one connections at the same time. I knew about it because that's the knowledge part, where I could use my knowledge and also use different softwares. Those days, I was a script kiddie. I would just use like record and playback things, point and click scanners, or point and click, you click a button and you get all the data, or you can crack the password or username. So those were when I was 16. Now things have got better, but they haven't really got so much better, I'll tell you. That's about me. If I can keep on going and going and going, but I will stop here. And also I am one of the OWASP cheat sheet contributors, which is Open Web Application Security Project, and it is a 501(c) non-charitable organization. Anyone who wants to learn hacking, I encourage you and I recommend OWASP. It's a great documentation there. There are a great number of cheat sheets. And if you are asking a question about what tool do I use for security testing, I think OWASP is a great source of information. You can start from there. I will not answer about tools in terms of what tool do I use, or where I can generate a security testing report. That's not really possible. Even if it's possible with some tools, scanners, scanning is different, and what you are testing or hacking is different. My only question to all of you is, if black hat hackers were using the same tools as you, who are white hat hackers, then why do we still see breaches every day in the news? So that's a question you need to ask yourself. We both are using the same tools, and why do we still see the security bugs on a day-to-day basis? That's one thing. And secondly, white hat hackers, we do this based on extrinsic motivation and not intrinsic. What I have seen with black hat hackers is they are intrinsically motivated. They are not going to say, hey, look, okay, I have 1 month and I have to generate this report. They can hack any day, anytime. And even I can be hacked. When I was a kid, I used to use internet relay chat, and I used to connect to people from around the globe, be it from America or Israel and Korea and Pakistan as well. There were really some great hackers through whom I used to learn. And finally, I was learning so deeper that they kind of became my disciples, and they treat me as a guru now, because they stopped their learning on the same day, while I went on and on and on and on. And it's been like around 17 to 18 years probably that I've been still here. So moving on, what I'm going to speak about is what we are missing in the security industry or the software industry, even in testing as well. Now, security itself is testing. And if we are saying, oh, that security part, I'm not going to touch it. Well, you do not function by only a hand in the whole body. I need to have mouth to feed myself. And only then, okay, I become a complete human being where I can eat food and I can be still alive. So for people who are new to security testing, I'm going to say we will focus on security headers today, and they have always been powerful, but we do not use them. It's so rare to see HTTP headers in any web application or mobile apps, and we keep using the Postman or different tools or softwares like Charles Proxy or Burp Suite. And we do not really look into it because we don't have that knowledge of way to look into. If there is a knowledge part which is missing, then it's hard to identify the bugs. For one question you can ask yourself is, how many of you, this is my favorite question, how many of you know what can be the email address length based on not your knowledge, based on World Wide Web Consortium, which is W3C, which is a standard, which governs the whole internet or how the web works. So not many people know about it. Someone may say it's 50 characters, someone may say 70 characters, someone may say 80 characters, or developer liked 50 characters and that person added max length as 50. Now that's a problem because it's like a discrimination against those people who have more than 50 characters. This is in government websites, this is in healthcare, this is in e-commerce, this is everywhere. This is in banks as well, if you start observing them. So that's a metaphor for what kind of education we are lacking. And we don't read documentation. We always say this, documentation is boring. But documentation can also be great if you are reading from the right source. That's about the documentation part. So that's what we are missing globally. We do that. We are only behind what tool will give me the whole report and the bugs if I just click on a button. And that's a big problem that we have. Moving on, what are these HTTP headers and where are these HTTP headers? They can be found in request and response. Just think about only request and response as of now. There are also other types of headers, which are general headers and also entity headers. We'll not look into it because I don't want to give you so much information where you start getting confused. So request and response. So you send it from your web browser, the server gives you a response. That's where the HTTP headers are, and also what you can do with these HTTP headers is what we'll see now. So how we are going to open that is your Google Chrome browser or Mozilla Firefox or Safari or your Internet Explorer as well. So you can go to developer tools in different ways. In Google Chrome, this is the 3 vertical dots, which is called as more options. So sometimes most people do not know what do you call these 3 dots. So it's more options in Google. So I go here to more tools. Once here, developer tools, or else I can just go here, click on inspect, and that will go to elements tab. So once this elements tab is opened, you can click on network. And that's where you start seeing the request. Whenever you refresh a page, the request starts flowing in whatever resources are there, GIF, JPEG, or PNG, or JS files. It can be anything. And you can click on a specific request. So let's assume that I refresh this page and this is the first request, which is a GET request. And these are also general HTTP headers. If you see general here, and 200 OK is OK, it was served really well, and request method, which is a GET. And if we scroll down here, these are response headers, and these are request headers here. And they pass on some information to each other. So the client can say, hey, look, I need this. And the response will have a different HTTP headers and also the content with the response body. So if I keep scrolling, and what is the problem? Where can you find bugs here? So any web application you go to the developer tools, go to the network tab, keep refreshing the page on different features, or it could be when you click on the submit button, and you will start seeing the request here. Once you look into it, look at this. My first bug, whenever I go to altoromutual.com, which is a demo site here, and which can be used for testing purposes. So I go here, I see Apache, Coyote, and also it says 1.1. What's the problem here? Now this speaks about some information where I can go to Google search. I can just say Apache Coyote 1.1 vulnerabilities. Once I do that, I get to know 1.1 is buggy. It's not really secure. So that can be my first bug. However, these headers can give a false information, but I would still note it down and go to this. And you can go to different websites as well. For instance, okay, if I go to my really old blog, which I'm not using it now, but you can still visit it and read it. So what I see here, if I keep scrolling, server, Apache. And if I keep going to different ones, let me drag this control to the bottom. And let's say, okay, I go to my other website, 304, and I keep scrolling here down and open REST server. It doesn't give me version number, but I can use different tools, different plugins, different extensions. And this information should not be shown to users. And why it should not be shown? Because you saw that I went to Google search and I entered this, the same search phrase. And once I do this, I can go to some website. I can try finding a different websites where that will give me what is the security bug and how can I exploit the same by following the steps. It's so easy. Most of the attacks happen with social engineering as well. Your developers may go to Stack Overflow and they may be thinking, everything is fine. And someone asked this question, how do I configure this firewall? And what a malicious hacker does is, this malicious hacker does a backtrack and goes to LinkedIn and uses the same name of a person. And that tells you where the person works and what is this person working on and everything, all those details. So that's a problem with HTTP not the problem, but one of the problems where you reveal what should not be revealed in your HTTP headers. This can be configured. All the HTTP headers can be configured, and whatever the users don't need and the malicious hackers need, remove it. This could be server as well. And sometimes you give like Nginx 1.5 or 1.14.1 and all these version numbers, and that's bad. So whenever you see in your application, whatever is not required, report it as a bug to the developer and remove it. So, and there can be many other sensitive information as well, where you can look into it and get it. So moving on, what we do is, that's the way how we open it. And one of the bugs is what I mentioned here now. You can deep dive and read more about different things as well and attack it. But we are going to look into some critical attacks here. Going here, why are they important? Now, HTTP headers are really powerful. So that's where I call them as mantra, which can be a kind of magical powers or anything. And not many developers or testers or stakeholders or product owners or even the CEO or the CFO, anyone, they don't know about it. Not everyone knows about it. And even though they know about it, they don't know how they really work, how to bypass them, and what kind of code I need to write so that the malicious hackers do not use them. And this can act as a repellent, like mosquitoes or mosquito repellent or something that we use on our body, and then they just send them away. So we can use this as repellent, okay, against some security bugs. And if applied well, I'm sorry about this scarecrow here, there's an if here behind this. If applied well, you can have a good time sleep. And if you do not have that, you're always thinking about what may happen to my application tomorrow or day after, or after 1 year, or after 5 years. And HTTP headers can act like scarecrows or decoys. What you add in your fields to shoo away the crows, or you shoo away the different birds, which can come to your field and eat all the food, okay, which could be grains or anything. So you can add this. The reason is, whenever I was testing any application or any website, I open the developer tools and I go to the network tab and I click on the request. I used to see powerful HTTP headers and I used to run away. The reason I run away is because these guys really know what they're doing with security HTTP headers. That's cool. Where are the bugs? We saw one of the bugs, but we'll focus on the secure HTTP headers and how to find things that really matter when we talk about security just by looking into HTTP headers. Now, if I go into all these HTTP headers here, you see XSS Protection, clear site data, or content security policy, HTTP strict transport security, content type options, clear site data. All these are HTTP headers which can be configured in your application, and you can see them in the network tab. And the syntax goes this way, and this can be case insensitive. Doesn't mean that, okay, yes, should be small, lowercase, or yes, should be uppercase. They can be case insensitive. So this is my favorite list. Whenever I go to any website, I look for these 7 HTTP headers. And whenever I do not see all of this, I get to understand the culture of a person. I mean, the programmer or a developer or the company itself. It could be a startup, or it could be a company where the team members are not really trained on secure coding principles, or maybe testers are not looking into it, or maybe security testers have been given instructions to do only this and that. And that's a big problem, because black hat hackers are never given instructions. They don't care about their managers. They don't care about the CEO because they don't have one. All they do is, I need this money and I have to use this attack and get all the money. Or maybe if I'm on any other website, I have to steal all of this data. So that's what they do. Now, if I have to demonstrate one of the things here, secure HTTP headers, what I would do is, dev tools, you got to know how to go there, and also you need to know what to look for. And now we'll speak about something else in terms of how we can mitigate these things. Now, if we have this here, we are going to use two extensions here. One is CSP Evaluator. You can install this as well, which is a Chrome extension. And one more is a CSP Mitigator. Now, CSP Mitigator can help you to inject your own HTTP headers in the application and see what's the response. Is there a security bug? Or is the HTTP header configured really well and strong? Or I can bypass it. So that's where I use CSP Evaluator here and also CSP Mitigator. So once you install this, okay, it sits in these plugins here. If you click on here, Evaluator, Mitigator. And also one more favorite of mine is mod header. Why I use mod header is to add different headers or inject custom headers and everything, all those things. But we will not care about much more details about how they work in terms of multiple headers or something. Just know that where you go, how you see, and what you need to do with the data. Now, if I go to altoromutual.com, we'll pick one thing called as, if you go to AlterMutual, of course, this is called as a banner grabbing attack, where server HTTP header is giving you the information about the server. We will look into the search field here. For instance, if I say finance and hit enter, we see this. Some of you may have already seen this example if you have watched my videos, but I'm going to show you something different here. If I do H1 and then say Santhosh Tuppad here, look at that. Okay, I'm executing HTML here because that's what I use when I said H1 is a HTML tag. And then I entered something between that, and that rendered it on the web page where it really made it as a heading, which is a H1. You have H1 to H6 as well. So H1, I get this. Now I got to know there could be a HTML injection. Now the biggest problem of this HTML injection is I know the malicious hacker. If I'm wearing a hat of a malicious black hat hacker, I know that I can inject anything here. For instance, if I wanted to do image source, look at this. This is a beautiful butterfly. I mean, who would hate it, right? So people will come in here and say, I could load an image, but just by using a search field. And this can be in any text field, wherever you see. And sometimes you cannot use these characters, right? So you get an error saying that you're not supposed to use this, or in the first place, you cannot really enter this character at all. Wherever this character is executed, it means they have a big problem. If you're not doing this test just alone with this these HTML tags or this character, and this is the culprit. And some people do the escaping, some people do the encoding and all this. That's a mitigation, good thing, but that's not alone. We need to use different layers of security in our application. For instance, if I loaded this butterfly, a malicious hacker would say, what can I do with the butterfly? Nothing else. But if we could load the image from some other source, if you see this, the image here, that website is something else, ScienceMag.org. It's not from altoromutual.com, which is the bank, which is a demo site only, right? So if I am accessing a remote resource, I can enter anything here. Image SRC, I can enter a URL which can be a naked picture of someone, or which could be from a porn site. I don't know. You can go beyond it. And once you add this here, how are you going to hurt the reputation of this company or a business? Is copy this URL, because that's where the attack is happening from. If you see this image, IMG tag, source, and all of this here, the same thing. Copy this, go to tinyurl.com and make a tiny version of it. And then just on Twitter or social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, just say that, hey, look, okay, there's a new CEO of this company. Oh, hey, look, okay, these people are really bad. They are uploading all these different pictures on their website, and it's not really good. It doesn't send a good message. Now, how do you stop this? That's where I speak about content security policy. If I look into this one is my favorite here, content security policy here. This is the strongest one where you can mitigate different types of attacks in terms of image injection, in terms of cross-site scripting attacks, in terms of any content injection attacks. It could be anything, all different characters, or it could be naughty strings. If you go on Google and search for naughty strings, you get emojis, you get Chinese character, you get Arabic characters, you get different literatures, like it could be a Kannada language, it could be a Hindi language, or anything across the globe. So what happens to your application when I run this? And that can be a part of data coverage as well. So I'm going to speak about content security policy here. That's where our mitigator is going to help us. If I see this CSP mitigator, I can insert different types of directives here. Now the header is content security policy. This is what we will say. And then whatever you see after this is a value, or you can call it as a directive in CSP or the HTTP headers. So what I will do here is image source is one of the directive, and I will say self. Once I inject this CSP, I cannot really load the external image. For instance, alter mutual. I will say image source. You will still see a butterfly now, but I will show you how to really use this extension. But when you are using this in your production, it will not work. It will not load up this butterfly. But this CSP mitigator is just for testing purpose, and you can see it in your console here. If you see in the console here, can you see this? I mean, of course, okay, you cannot respond, but refuse to load the image, ScienceMag. This was the URL that we entered in our search field. But this is only report only, because this is just used for testing purpose, this mitigator, CSP mitigator. Once you use that rule, because we are injecting this rule here, and this has been started, it's not a stop, so it will be continuously going on. You can test any web application with this whenever you are using a Google Chrome browser or even other browsers as well. In that way, you can even refuse to load the script tags, and the script tags could be this one. For instance, you can say script. I have to stop this. And the script tags, let me close this off. The script tag under alter mutual here, you can just go ahead and say script source. And here you can use self. Self here means do not load any resources from any other website or the domain apart from the domain that I am in, which in this case is alteromutual.com. So anything, and ScienceMag, we saw that the ScienceMag here is not alteromutual. So that's why it rejected this. However, we saw that loading into the DOM, document object model, and that's not a problem because this is just a demo purpose. This CSP mitigator only used by the developers or testers or security testers, anyone, the white hat guys. So CSP, and also you will see that whitelisting is disabled for strict dynamic. You can configure this as well. There are many different directives which you can look into. So for instance, you can disable the video injection, you can disable audio injection, you can also disable script injection. Now that's what I'm talking about here. For instance, let's say we want to inject a script, and then we say source, and then we say script tag ending. Learn a bit of HTML and also JavaScript, and then go on deeper because you will start loving it. So here, script source, I will just say https example.com and then enter. Now, cross-origin read blocking, this is a card one, but if I have to run this, I have to start this. So then I won't see an error message here in the console. So I click on start. And I use the same script here, script source. And once I click on this, you will see that, okay, it got blocked here. Can you see this example.com? I cannot load any remote scripts here. And if I cannot load a remote script, I cannot really make it malicious. For instance, eviljs.com/santoshtuppad.js. So if I want to load it, I cannot load it at all. So that will mitigate a great amount of, great number of cross-site scripting attacks wherever there's a script injection. So that's where you use a script source. And you can also explore. First, I have to stop this. I stop, and when I go to the same website, click on the plugin here. You can use media source is for audio and video. You can use an object source as well. And you can use, sorry, I think the internet connection was unstable for some reason. So you can also use a style source, because sometimes I recently wrote a OWASP cheat sheet in terms of how people can utilize the CSS files. If I can go to cheat sheet series here, OWASP. So that's where I speak about how styles can be used, the cascading style sheets can be used in security, and how it can really be bad for your application if you do not really take care of it. For cascading style sheets, securing cascading style sheets, where most of the things you can give out the information in your cascading style sheets, a lot of information, where a malicious hacker can do a profiling of your application and really create a creative attack before he or she or them, they bring down your website or hack something in terms of the access control or authorization or anything. So coming back to that, so you can look into it. It's really a different idea. And most of them, they do not look into the cascading style sheets. So we can stop different things with a style source, media source, object source, a script source as well. Now CSP, that's where it plays a role of whitelisting. Anything that doesn't fit into its policy, content security policy, it's going to reject everything. And that's how we are going to mitigate some dangerous security attacks or the hacking attacks by malicious hackers. So that's CSP mitigator here. What I showed you, you can try adding, but be careful here. Some things to be careful about is when you're testing for content security policy, just don't look into one request from the network. So for instance, if I look into about search.jsp, if I scroll down here, there is no CSP here, or maybe I need to refresh the page, only then I'll see something. So if I see image source, and I go to search.jsp, because that's the GET request here. So if I scroll down, and in here, you have different one, upgrade insecure request. That's also an important one. And this is not working because I did not start it. I'm sorry about it. So if I just say img source and just say self, if I start this, the image should work, but also it has to be injected in HTTP headers. Remove it. Sometimes it can be really confusing when you are using network tab if you are preserving the logs. Search.jsp. And in here, can you say this content security policy? This is just only report only because I have injected it via CSP mitigator here. So if I make it bigger, you see this report only. But when you are deploying it, when you are really fixing it, do not use report only, just content-security-policy, and then all your directives here. Now the problem, one of the problem is if you start seeing one of the requests and there is a content security policy and the directive is image-src and then it's self, it doesn't mean that the whole website has this policy. About CSP, be careful that this is page by page configuration. You cannot just say, I looked into the root file, which was the index file, and that has a CSP, and everything should have it. No, it doesn't have it. You have to go through one by one. And this is where your automation skills can come into picture, because it's a machine powered. What you can do is, for instance, I use Python with the request library. When I use the request library, I use the headers, and whatever headers comes in, then I use the conditional looping or the iteration and other things. But before that, I crawl all the URLs or the API endpoints. What you do in Postman, you can do it with, anywhere else as well, be it in Java, or be it with the etcetera, or be it with the curl commands as well. You can do that, but you need to know how to do it. So at least learn where to start from and how can I use it, because black hat hackers are equipped with these skills, because they are doing something else which maybe most of the white hat hackers are not even thinking about. Mainly, we are barking at the wrong tree, and nothing is working. We are going for a quarterly assessment of our security, and in the next quarter, again, we get the assessment. I mean, what are we thinking here? Are we thinking that the black hat hackers are very good people? They are very kind, and they are not going to hack us in that time frame, in the interval after 3 months to next 6 months? They will hack you no matter what. So this is one of my anger towards most of the companies, where they say, just give me the report. Of course, it's a business, but we are not doing something for the humanity in terms of the culture, security culture. We don't care. That's the thing. And I hope it changes. That's what I want to. So you can look into content security policy header. So that speaks about the CSP. You can stop loads of attacks here. Let's go back to our preview here. Then XSS Protection. Now this one is by Microsoft when they released it. And it uses two values, which is 0 and 1. 0 means it's going to stop reflected cross-site scripting, not about stored one. So if you are thinking, okay, it is going to help me mitigate all the cross-site scripting, no, it doesn't. It's only for a reflected cross-site scripting in Internet Explorer and Safari and Chrome as well. I think Chrome had a XSS auditor as well, but I'm not sure how it works now. But X-XSS Protection, if you set it to 1, it means it will mitigate, it will neutralize that script tag or your script injection. But that's not a great one. But also we can, but we can use it for as a scarecrow or a decoy to shoo away the hackers if they are not really so well equipped with the knowledge. That's XSS Protection. How do you do this? Is by using, if I go to my Chrome, that's where I use a mod header here. So if you click on this mod header, look into this. This is a plugin again. You can download it from the Chrome extension website. What I do here is, if I want to remove it, I can just click on this icon here. If I want to add, I'll go here and then add XSS Protection, and here 1, and more equals to block all the requests like this. In here, if we scroll down, if you are watching this behind this pop-up here, if you go down, there is no XSS Protection here. If you see here, if it's not there, add it here, and once you have added, refresh this page. Let me clear this, refresh this page, and you can start seeing a search JSP. Scroll down, look at it here, X-XSS Protection. So you can start adding it. You need not go to the programmer or developer and say, hey, look, can you please add that? I need to test it, some feature. You can add this and test it and then tell the developer, hey, look, there is the option is wrong. We need to add more equals to block. So that's your homework, what you are learning about, what you are going to learn about more equals to block, how it really behaves when we add it with the X-XSS Protection. However, whenever you use a CSP, doesn't mean that when we use XSS Protection, we should stop using CSP. Use both. use them because they mitigate different kinds of attacks in the same topology. Like cross-site scripting is one kind of topology. If we think about it, then it will avoid all those kind of attacks. So use XSS Protection. That's one. And if we look into upgrade insecure requests, now upgrade insecure requests, you can again add this in the mod header. And what this does is, let's say if you have left a request for an image .jpeg or .png in your website or web application. So if it's configured as HTTP, your upgrade insecure request HTTP header is going to convert it to HTTPS, so that, okay, there is no man in the middle attack or anything. It does it forcefully. But be careful about using this HTTP header, because you also need to use the HSTS, which is this one, the last but one, HTTP strict transport security header. This and this works really hand in hand. And if you're not in this one, that's a big problem. And HSTS, strict transport security header, will make sure that your resources are loading over HTTPS secure channel and not just HTTP. And that goes by your maximum expiry time, and you can use include subdomains, and you can use preload function as well. Preload directive value in HTTP strict transport security is known to mitigate the attacks where there is a first time user and they load a website, and then there is a redirection that happens from the HTTP to HTTPS, and there is a small window, a gap, where man-in-the-middle attack can happen when the conversion from HTTP to HTTPS is happening. To mitigate that, we use strict transport security with a preload, and also include subdomains if you are using a subdomains. And as I speak about subdomains, I just wanted to make this point about content security policy. We spoke about implementing this by page and not just at the root level. It's not possible. And also, it doesn't include subdomain. If you are setting this content security policy for example.com, it doesn't mean that it will also apply to subdomain.example.com. You have to do it even for that. So all of them are separate. So that's about, that's one point that I wanted to add. Going forward, X-frame options. Now, X-frame options is kind of deprecated, and most people are not using this. They're using the CSP itself. How they are using CSP is by adding a key value called frame ancestors. So if I stop this, close it off, come back to the mitigator here. Frame ancestors is one more. Look at this. Frame ancestors means whenever you add the X-frame options or the frame ancestors, you can just say self. I cannot really use HTML tags such as this part here, iframe or frame tags. What happens is people can use this to perform the clickjacking attacks. You think that you are clicking on submit button, but actually you are transferring your money to someone else. So it doesn't allow the malicious hackers to inject a frame of some other website and mask something else. Behind it, it's a transfer money button, but in front it shows you change my email address or something, where the users don't feel doubtful about it. So that's about X-frame options. And you can do the same testing again with the header here. So if you go to the header, you can add a header called as X-frame options, and then you can set it to X-frame options and set it to deny. Now, deny means no matter whether it's from my same domain, which is altoromutual.com, or any other domain on the web, just reject it. So we are mitigating the attack of clickjacking completely, but also use the CSP, my recommendation. If you want to allow the iframe, because your business demands that, what you can use is same origin. This is the value. And once you use this, you can load the iframes from your own website, which is from the same domain name. Because some places you wanted to load a payment gateway. When you want to load a payment gateway, there's a frame. And when you are loading someone's frame, you have to allow it. And how do you do that? Is by using allow from attribute. So when you use allow from, you can add a specific domain names. Only you are allowed and no one else is allowed. So that's kind of whitelisting as well. So using this X-frame options is going to mitigate it, clickjacking attack. So at least you know that you are marking check, 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 and you are achieving a better coverage than before. And whenever people look into this kind of security, most people are not interested in hacking that web application. For instance, me, because I transformed from a hacker when I was a kid. I used to do things differently. And when I started looking into all this and got to know about the laws, I started getting scared from the decoys or the scarecrows and run away. Because the moment I see all these headers or CSPs, X-frame options, XSS Protection, and the JWT token, JWT is a different one, which is for your session management, but we are not going into the session management as of now. So that's about X-frame options here. Now, the next one is, what I want to cover is clear site data. Most of the times with this header, clear site data, whenever you log in Mozilla Firefox, especially, the caching works differently in different web browsers. When I log in, I go to my profile or any other internal pages, and I click on logout, and I'm redirected to the web page, the home page. When I click on the back button of the web browser, I can click back and I can see all the data. So if you want to clear all the cache, use the clear site data header always. So whenever you're logging out, inject this clear site data, and then you are sure that there are no attacks such as application cache attack, where people can click on back button and come over here. And X content type options is really good, where the value is no sniff. So what this does is, in every header, you have something called as content type. If you look into the network tab, you have content type where it says text, backslash, plain, or JSON, or anything. So if we add this, we don't allow tampering by malicious hackers to alter the content type so that they can enter JSON and send some JSON request body. So that's how it mitigates X content type options. And there's going forward, how to do them right. Okay, this is a checklist that you can use. Understand the context of your application, read documentation, and understand before you implement the HTTP header policies. Use report only mode. This is like analytics for your CSP. Learn about it, because sometimes it can break the application if you are really configuring your policies in an incorrect way and not really in a better way, or so do not break functionally as well. Make sure you can use caniuse.com. So caniuse.com, before using any HTTP header, go there and see the browser compatibility and write extensions or tools to test or evaluate, like you saw. Repeat reading the documentation. So if you keep doing this, after experimentation, go back to reading and keep doing this iteration again and again. So caniuse.com is something like this. Caniuse.com. You can go here and you can enter, where can I use X-frame options? Because if your application is supporting older browsers, you have to do it in a different way. You can do it even for content security policy as well, or any header. You can go here and look into the compatibility check, and then say, okay, how we need to implement this. That's caniuse.com. Keep doing it repeatedly. Keep your console always open, because there's a great amount of information you get when you keep your browser console always open and keep looking into it. And if I tell you, okay, start using 2 monitor displays, okay, where you get the extended version as well. So keep it one, and then get into all the data in network tab or elements or console. Now, all these are 7 HTTP headers here. And that's not it. There are many HTTP headers, and which can be configured in order for different functional things or security as well. And the best resource I have found until date is using Mozilla Developer Network. It's free. It's there. It's open source. Okay, you can go there and practice it as well. And there are different extensions like we saw. And what I have a challenge for you before I finish this off. And let me quickly get it. So if I am on any website, for instance, let's say I will use work2code.com itself. The reason I'm using this is I don't have permission from the other websites, but you can use it anywhere else. For instance, I go to contact us page, I open my console. Now I will use my own plugin where I can do this, Chrome, and here extensions. What I will do is turn on the developer mode here, because if you are importing it from your own computer, low impact, and I will go to desktop and here Chrome extensions. So this calls itself as Chrome plugin security tester or checker. So let's see what it does actually. I'm not going to tell you now. So here, if I go to the plugins panel, so I see Testman, right? So it's installed well. Now what I will do here is in the input field, I will say Santhosh. Now I can go to the network tab and clear this. Or maybe I'll just say, it's not really doing anything here because I have mitigated this kind of attack. For instance, if we go to any other website, for instance, click here, for example, alteromutual.com itself. I don't want to go to any website. So in here, I will enter search A. Keep observing on here, THOSH. So what is this doing? It's showing red, but if you observe here, C equals to, that's my query, SANTH. This is a JavaScript-based keylogger, which is injected as a plugin. So how can I use this? I can make someone to install this plugin by doing a social engineering. And once they install this, wherever they are, and this works on most of the banks around the globe, and most of the healthcare, most of the e-commerce, and anywhere else, this plugin, this malicious JavaScript code. And this is a homework for you to tell me whenever, however you contact me, in terms of finding a solution for this, how to mitigate this kind of attack based on what you have learned today, and based on your research, which you are going to do in the future after this talk as well. So this is a keylogger, and this keylogger is not really big. This keylogger is just 15 lines of code here. Look at it, 15 lines of code. What I can do is I can replace this 127. That's why you started seeing the red color, saying that it was failing because I haven't set my localhost. But if I make it something that exists, I can check my server logs and get all the characters and even the domain name they were logging in. And then I can keep getting all their credentials or anything that they type using their keyboard. So that's one thing which you got to research, and let me know if you are really motivated. And extensions used, okay, you saw everything. And then thank you, you rock. And you can contact me this way, and I'm open for questions now. Cool.
Well, we have lots of them. Santosh, would you like to pick those on your own, or
section.
you want to? Yeah.
Oh my God, 29. Okay, going on. What are the blogs we can read for social engineering? The Art of Deception by Kevin Mitnick, and the Art of there is Art of Deception, and there is one more where is Ghost in the Wires as well. Social engineering, the Art of Deception, and also you have the socialengineer.com or something. It has a hyphen in between if you search with that. And there are different videos by Kevin Mitnick on YouTube if you want to read it. And if you need books, I have written a blog as well, which you can look into. But start with Art of Deception and start doing it with your friends, okay, where you are social engineering them. So how I define social engineering is hacking the brain, hacking the oxytocin and amygdala of the brain. So when you do that, I think it's a practice, because that has been like around 17 years of experience with me. when you start looking into your apartment building, the security person as well, when you are going into some company, like a multinational company, and how you can talk to them, okay, how you have to dress up, because they will look into all these details. When you build a trust with the security guard, and once you start building the trust, that person starts talking to you really well. And the moment that person talks to you well, it means that you have already bypassed the first level of it. So that's the practice is one, but I can help you with the other things as well in terms of my own exercises as well. They're on SlideShare. I can give you the link later if you contact me. Yeah. And any security metrics report that you would suggest to substantiate how much security testing is important for a product as much as other types of testing? I think if we are having a lock for our home, I think it's important. So that's the first thing. If we are asking this question, okay, how much security testing is important? I think that, okay, you can get into anything. Whenever you see a door open, you close it, because that's what we do in our home, right? We close this door, we close that window, okay, based on what we have kept inside the home, depends on that context. What can you lose is the question here. And why security testing? I am actually bugged up with this question about why security testing. The reason is, we are in this century here and we have seen so much. We don't want to keep asking the same questions. And metrics or report, black hat hackers do not have a metrics or report. But now in companies, we can say that, oh, well, our manager asked for metrics or report, the data that helps our clients as well. Of course, you can use this and give a report that really matters, rather than just giving all kind of different colorful report, okay, which will persuade the reader, and they get bored, because this is not quality-based report, but just a quantity-based report. And any metrics, OWASP has it, Open Web Application Security Project. There are different standards with threat modeling, like threat modeling, and also the report as well, which can give you the inputs in terms of what do I need to focus on. That's a Stride, and the DREAD is one of the model. And also there is a ASVS standard, as not ASVS actually, the Australian and the New Zealand as well. There are different standards. So pick what works for your context. If nothing works, have your own report, create your report based on what you think is better for the customer. That's what I do with my work. My reports are totally changing with one customer to the other customer. So that's what I would say for the metrics or security report. Read OWASP. How do we secure APIs? Now, securing APIs, first one needs to know how many HTTP verbs are there. We always know put method, post method, and get method. But we don't know about many other methods like connect method, options, trace. What does trace do? Trace can give us sensitive information. It's like a probe to the server, and it may or it may not give you a sensitive information, which can help as a malicious hacker. Securing APIs is a big topic, and I have seen most of the people using Postman. They forget to say what should not be allowed and what should be allowed, and what is this information. They just ignore it. They don't even say, okay, they don't even ask a question. Postman, just you have fallen into that routine of what I should see and what I should fill in the report. The moment you start understanding how does the HTTP verbs or the methods, all this get, head, post, put, options, delete, there are so many, and at least there are 8 HTTP methods which we use in our work on day-to-day basis. Securing APIs, on my blog, work2code.com/blog, I have on API security a checklist where you need to look into the exception handling, error message handling, and HTTP method coverage. And are we doing all this and adding a check? Okay, I have done this, I have done that, and everything. Only then you can have a good night's sleep. That's my answer to securing APIs. And also there is a great article on Open Web Application Security Project about securing APIs as well. That's the answer, if I can say. But for more information, anyone here, just contact me. And then, can you share some insights on mobile application security and API level controls? API level controls, I think I shared the above, but some things may change as the philosophy of mobile apps or Internet of Things or web applications are different based on the protocols used. For instance, your MQTT protocol works differently because it's very light bandwidth. You cannot, there is not much power, and how you develop it, how you test it is different. So mobile application security has a different philosophy, but look into your API level controls, as I mentioned in the above question, which was about API security. Just a moment, okay, my throat is getting dried up a bit. Can you suggest a source to learn microservice security testing? I think OWASP is the answer. One thing I would still focus, many people may say that, you know what, being an expert, you need to give the answers this way. But you know what, I will tell you whatever I have experienced, whatever I have known. Microservice security testing is not different from what your web application or mobile apps or IoT and social engineering as well. Mindset is the best part. That's a beautiful thing. And that's how I would answer that question. But for more details, you know that, contact me. Do you teach or mentor people in immersive session testing? I heard it about the immersive session testing by Mr. Ashok T in previous talk. But
I think some questions are from the previous session and somehow.
Yeah. Right.
That's
okay. What types of tests? Oh, great. Yeah, cool. So I think I will go ahead with the Slack. Okay, just bombard me with the questions. Okay, we can discuss there. I will give you different resources as well, which you can do for free. Cool.
Looks like you're going to be busy for the rest of the day, Santhosh. Thank you